6 on your side tonight, taking a closer look at how a new Supreme Court ruling on domestic violence offenders and guns could protect victims and our community. Remember, the High Court upheld a federal law that stops anyone under a domestic violence protection order, restraining order, from owning a gun. It was an 8-1 vote in that court. Justice Thomas, the only one dissenting, rejecting arguments that the law violates your Second Amendment rights. Our Bria Chapman is on your side tonight talking to a mom who lost her daughter at the hands of her abuser with a new reaction. Bria.
Yeah, that's right, Jonathan. So Suzanne Clark Montgomery says the last 5 years she's lived every mother's worst nightmare. Her daughter Megan was murdered by her husband, who killed her after he was able to get his gun back after Megan Montgomery filed a restraining order. Now, Clark Montgomery says the Supreme Court ruling is significant, but she says still more work needs to be done.
He was allowed to have a gun. And the minute he got that gun back, 2 weeks after he got that gun back, he used it to kill my daughter.
Susan Clark Montgomery lost her daughter Megan to domestic violence in 2019.
In 2021, 74% of known homicide offenders in Jefferson County had a history of domestic violence.
Last year, we spoke to Jefferson County District Attorney Danny Carr about the link domestic violence offenders have with other violent crimes. And mothers like Clark Montgomery say this Supreme Court ruling is important.
There's 1,000% greater chance of a victim being killed by their partner if they own a weapon. There was a study done from 2014 to 2019 that showed 68% of all mass shootings, the shooter had a history of being a domestic violence offender.
The Supreme Court ruled last week to uphold a 30-year-old law that would prevent domestic violence abusers from owning guns. But Montgomery says enforcing it looks different at the local level.
But the problem is different states have different interpretations of the law. And so in different states have different ways of adhering to the law. In other words, a lot of states don't have procedures in place to actually remove the weapons.
She says that law was in effect when her daughter was killed. State law prohibits anyone subject to a protection order to have a gun.
And it depends on what the ruling is in the restraining order. In Megan's restraining order, it did not say that her offender could not have a gun.
Yeah, research shows the risk of homicides is increased by 500% if a gun is present in a domestic violence situation. Now, if you or someone you know is in an abusive or dangerous situation, there is help, and I'll post those links to this story in our WBRC News app. Sarah?
Important information.